Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say, it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Tuesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Hope everybody had a great Labor Day. We got a good show lined up for you today. We're going to be joined by the one and the only William Bill Pizza Feinberg here in the beginning of the show. The second portion of the show is Tuesday. It's a Buddy Martin show. He will be joining us to talk Gator sport. But let's go to the Titan Our hotline, and we're joined by Pizza Bill Feinberg. Good morning, Pizza. How are you?
I'm great, Shane. Thanks for having me. You must be scraping the bottom of the barrel to interview me.
Oh, no, man. Everybody in the Gator Nation, especially all us former football players specifically, they know who Pizza Bill is. You do a tremendous job keeping us up to date on what's going on, where people are, all that kind of stuff. But let's go back. You're a Gainesville boy. You grew up in Gainesville, went to Gainesville High. I read somewhere where, you were, as a youngster, used to go over and volunteer in the equipment room when you were 10, 12 years old, right?
Yeah, I started with football and basketball over the university. I went to Westwood Middle School as a junior high back then, but moved here in 61. I was 4 years old, and my father worked in the registrar's office. He was the registrar here at the university in charge of getting people in school, worked with the Board of Examiners. So I kind of gravitated to the university over there and saw the players practicing football one day. I was riding my bike and started shagging balls for the kickers. That was my intro.
All right, so you end up going to the University of Florida as a student. You were in the journalism school, right?
Went to the School of Journalism. Wasn't much of a student. Spent a lot of time down in the equipment room and working at radio stations. Wasn't quite the studious type. Always was more interested in getting in and getting things done. So I did a lot of work with Otis Boggs and Norm Carlson in sports information and working over at WRUF, interviewing players and carting things up back in the day, and kind of got my interest in broadcasting going. But
I was going to ask you, from a broadcasting DJ type point of view, did you just love music, or did you want to be in sports and both? What got you involved in that kind of stuff?
Well, I was told I had a face for radio, so that was a big portion of it. My brother's the TV star, but we both are journalism majors, and we just enjoyed sports in general and the television and radio aspect of it. But was always interested in that aspect. But my favorite thing was working with the athletes. I think that was the biggest thing, being able at age 12 years old to get over there and work in the locker rooms for football and basketball and make friends like Neil Walk and Gary Keller and Andy Owens in basketball. And, John Reeves was my hero growing up. I'd go to school in his jersey every day. I had the white, the blue, and the old practice jersey. So I'd wear his jersey to school every day practically. I really idolized John and Carlos, and they kind of took me in. They were my older brothers when I was very young.
Very cool. And I also read, I want to say you were the first guy to ever receive a scholarship as an equipment manager from Doug Dickey, right? Right.
Back in the day, back in the 60s under Ray Graves and probably before that, they paid the equipment managers a very, very paltry sum of money and one meal a day on the training table. And the guys that kind of adopted me, John Magnuson, Jerry Wilson, Perry Soanes, Chip Sharkey, Bill, and some of the other guys there, they took me under their wing. And Sarge Bannister was the head equipment manager back then. He had been there since the 40s and was there to 1971. So he kind of let me hang around as a mascot, taught me how to fix helmets and shoulder pads. And I was there every day after school. I became a fixture. And when Bud Fernandez came in 1971, he came in out of the Army and was not as familiar with the football equipment back in the day, and kind of taught him how things worked and got him acclimated to the situation. And he kept me around. I was at the right place at the right time over there at the University of Florida and at the right age. So it worked out very well.
Yeah, good old Uncle Bud, man. Uncle Bud, he didn't want to give you anything extra that you needed. You know, he would never give you an extra pair of socks or anything.
He was a little tight. He was a little tight, and the beautiful thing about Uncle Bud is he'd give you a hard time, and he was so short I could stand beside him. I'm not exactly a monster, but at 5'10", I was able to stand behind him and give the fellas the get out of the window sign. I'm going to take care of you as soon as you get out of the way. And we put a pair of socks in our pocket, walk out to the locker room, and toss them to the player and say you're handled. So that was kind of the way things worked back then.
We're speaking with Bill Feinberg, better known as Pizza Bill, here on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. So let everybody know why you go by the name Pizza Bill.
Well, I was 12 years old, and like I said, John Reeves and Carlos Alvarez, I used to stay out after practice and literally catch John every day. He was a hard worker, and he'd want to stay out, and all the receivers would go in, and nobody would stay with him. So gravitating towards him as a young man, he taught me how to throw and how to catch a ball, and he really worked with me and developed me, so I'd stay out there and catch with him and became very good. And he nicknamed me Pizza. He gave me my nickname because I was very short and very round, and every time he saw me, I was always munching on some Domino's pizza. Domino's was probably the only one that would deliver down to the locker room there. So we were always, and the dorm, of course, being in Yon Hall as a young man, I hung out in their room quite a bit. So 214 Yon Hall was their room, and we were always ordering pizza and having a good time. And Allen's Cubana was a good pizza back in our day. So ate a lot of pizza and had a great time with those guys. They kind of nicknamed me.
It's funny. I had no idea that's why you were called Pizza Bill. I always thought you were called Pizza Bill because I felt like, and maybe I was wrong, maybe they had it delivered, but I felt like back in the day when you would come help the equipment managers, you know, put the decals on the helmets I guess they do it on Thursday nights before
Friday afternoons, right.
They would always have a bunch of pizza in there, and I thought you brought the pizza, and that's why they all called you Pizza Bill.
Oh, no. It really started back in the day with John and Carlos. Like I said, we'd had pizza in the dorm in Yon Hall, and it'd be delivered. This was early days of Domino's here in Gainesville. I mean, the early 70s when they first started. And Gainesville was actually one of their first areas that they started the franchise in. Mr. Monahan, I believe the gentleman that started Domino's, actually started here on the Florida campus. He was from Michigan, but the Domino's, Freddie could answer that question since he could really give you the background on that. But it was very interesting. Ate a lot of pizza. Okay. So it was my favorite food. It was easy. You could eat it with one hand and continue doing what you were doing. But had such a love for the players. I spent a lot of time. I grew up in Yon Hall basically from the time I was about 13, 14 till I left school. Actually left the program in '84 when Coach Pell and Coach Hall came in.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Yon Hall. You know, I lived there all my years, and you know, I hate that the NCAA did away with athletic dorms because I felt like, you know, you just bonded as a team. Everybody lived together, not only just football, but you had all the sports there. You got any good Yon Hall stories you can tell us?
Oh, there's so many of them. You know, the John Brantley, Joe Wickline, alligators in the shower, snakes all over the dorm, everybody jamming into, we didn't have cable back in the day, so everybody going into the Wellman Lounge to watch football and NBA basketball back in the day. Just being around the dorm, you know, it was a great place to congregate and fellowship with the players and meet the other guys with basketball and track and wrestling and all the other sports that were living there at the time. Eating your meals every night, you'd be at a different table with the players and interacting with them. And I was able to always find a way to sneak in and get dinner. My mother didn't have to feed me from the time I was about 13 to about 18 over there because I was always grabbing a meal there after practice. I'd sneak up. Bud would go home, and I'd take his place in the line, and Checker always made sure I got something to eat. So it was a very cool place to be back then.
We got a text here on the Titan Tomorrow text line for you, Pizza. Fred wants to know, who was the one player during your college days that you hung out with the most? Now, I know you talked about John Reeves then, but you were a youngster then, right?
Right.
I guess they want to talk about when you were working as an equipment guy during your college days.
Oh, well, my roommate, I roomed with Napoleon Green. We went to Gainesville High School and played football in high school together, and he ended up being a much, much better athlete. He ended up signing a scholarship to play defensive back at Florida. But we roomed together in 75, 76, and 77 in Yon Hall. So I would say Knapp and I were the closest. I kind of got him to sign with Florida. He was looking to go elsewhere and ended up putting the screws to him and making sure that we'd be roommates. And Coach Dickey made that arrangement for us and ended up really good. I want to send a shout out to Knapp. He's not doing too well right now, not feeling good, but we're praying for him and hopefully all goes well with him. Talked with his wife yesterday. So we're praying for Napoleon Green.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Bill Feinberg here on the Titan MR hotline. So, Pizza, let me ask you this. You've seen a lot of football. Let's just talk about while you were in college.
All right.
What game during your college time stands out in your mind the most?
Oh, a lot of the Florida-Georgia games. I was looking back at some of the DVDs, just watching guys like Earl Carr, Tony Green, Willie Wilder, watching Don Gaffney run the option, Jimmy Fisher run the option. I'd have to say that Auburn game, 12-8 Auburn up at Auburn, the first time, I think it was 73, we beat Auburn 12-8, and Don Gaffney was the starting quarterback, and Don was the first black quarterback at Florida to start, and it was very controversial, and there was a lot of issues going in. Don was actually flanked by 2 Florida Highway patrolmen walking out of the locker room, and I was actually in front of him walking out of the locker room. It was a very difficult time, and a lot of the players, it was difficult coming into Auburn, Alabama, or when we played Ole Miss in 73, riding in on the bus. It was a very different time. And those are the games, both beating Auburn and beating Ole Miss on the road, to me, were very, very important, especially with the amount of black players that we had at the time rolling into those cities, those towns, and made it very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I think about that. I wanted to ask you, too, talk a little bit about being an equipment manager, a student manager. Okay, we got some pictures. You can't see them scrolling here, but the picture that we have of you, it looks like you got on some gray, tight bike coaching shorts. You got socks jacked all the way up, and you got the football like you're running and you're posing, you know?
Right.
Was that like picture day? You were acting
that was picture day. That was picture day. A gentleman by the name of Loghead used to come in every year from Dallas, Texas, and he was called Huckabuck. And the thing that I loved about this guy, he had on a big floppy hat, and he would entice the players to do like all kinds of crazy stuff. And I was kind of his liaison when he was here in Gainesville. Helped him out, made sure players had the balls, had the right helmet for their pictures, things like that. So there was a lull in the action. Some player was late, whatever. He says, jump out there, man, give me some poses and stuff like that. And just started running with the ball and, giving the stiff arm and the Heisman pose and all that stuff. And he ended up snapping off probably about 50 or 60 shots of me. And they ended up, when Norm Carlson ordered the pictures that year, they ended up coming. And he handed me that envelope. I thought he was just playing around. And ended up, I was one of the few managers that ever had done an action shot like that. So I still have them here in the house. Everybody gets a good laugh out of them. But those pictures are very interesting. The players that go through the years and never, the university's really not done a good job at that. They really need to get those guys those pictures so in their old age they can show their grandkids and their children and their families what they actually did. That's kind of the last of the, things that Florida needs to do in order to bring these players back and get them involved in the program. There's so many things that I'd like to do and help them get a lot of the players back involved in the program. Coach Mullen's doing a great job of doing that, him and Vernell Brown and the crew over there. But with this COVID, it's going to be difficult, and I'm hoping that a lot of the guys will come back and visit us here in Gainesville. It really makes my day to see a lot of the guys on game days and be able to fellowship and spend time with them.
Yeah. So talk about, I don't think the average person understands the hours a student manager puts in, the what am I looking forward? The crap they take from players. You know, some of my great friends were the student managers. We used to joke around with them, but we respected them because they the work that they do goes unnoticed. It really does. Just talk about the hours that the student managers spend on a daily basis, and not only they don't get to fly with the team, they got to get on a dang rider bus with all the equipment and go a couple of days early and drive all the way to the venue.
Well, things have changed. When Tim Sain was the head student manager, who was the head manager when you played in Florida with Bud Fernandez, Tim and I and one other gentleman, Harold Walker, we used to jump in a 24 or 26-foot U-Haul, all loaded up Thursday night, and drive all night with a Shell or Gulf credit card, and I didn't even have an American Express or Visa MasterCard back then, and hope that the gas stations would be open to get to where we were going. We loaded up the truck Thursday night after practice and loaded the bags and took about half of what they take today. And it was monumental. You'd get down there in the morning after breakfast, 7 a.m., and sometimes earlier doing two-a-days. At two-a-days, you were there at 5 a.m. So it was to me, it was the greatest experience of my life, being able I figured if I could handle that work, I could handle anything else in life thrown at you, because being an equipment manager teaches you to be a jack of all trades and master of none. And you learn so many cool things just by being around the diversity of people, the athletic trainers, the managers, the players, the coaches, all the support staff there that it takes. And I think it was, for me, growing up as a 12-year-old in Gainesville, Florida, to be able to do that and starting in 1968 all the way up through 1984 was a thrill of a lifetime. I know they can't do it today because of liability issues and all kinds of other stuff that you have. But for someone growing up in Gainesville back then, all my friends envied me, coming into school with a different jersey every day, or I was crazy. I'd wear John Reeves's cleats. He and I wore the same size shoes. So I literally would wear cleats to class on days, a pair of Riddell white cleats. They used to laugh at me. I said, yeah, well, it's John Reeves is there. So, and it was to me, it made me stand out. It made me different. And it allowed me to grow up and mature much earlier, being around the older guys on a regular basis. Really.
So let's fast forward to the Spurrier era. You would hang around with Tim Sain, who was here then. But Uncle Bud was here a little bit too.
Right.
What games in your mind are some that stand out in the Spurrier era?
Well, I had such a great time. I came back in 2001. My father got sick, and my mother couldn't handle him, so I came back to take care of him and my mom with some health issues. And Tim was nice enough, and Bud were nice enough to kind of let me hang around, do the laundry, get involved in some stuff with the student managers. And 2001 was a Cinderella season for me, because I thought we were getting ready to go to Pasadena and play in the Rose Bowl. We were winning. Rex Grossman was back there slinging it, and had all those great wide receivers. You had Jabbar Gaffney, you had Carlos Perez, you had it was incredible with all the guys we had at wide receiver. Kid from Tallahassee, Taylor Jacobs, and just a fantastic crew of guys that were playing in 2001. And 9/11 happened, and they postponed the Tennessee game, and we played that last game. And Travis Stevens ran all over us that game. We couldn't tackle him. That's the game that cost us the national championship. I think we could have been out there and playing in the Rose Bowl, but I got back at Travis. He ended up playing for the Bucs when I was down there working 1 year, and I made life a little difficult for him down there. I had his Rolex. He asked me to hold his Rolex for him one day, so I made it very difficult for him to get it back.
Yeah, talk about the Bucs. People don't know you worked down there with Tim Sain, who was the head equipment guy. Also, fortunate enough to go to the Super Bowl.
Yep, I was very lucky. The timing was good, and my father had gotten better. And Tim called me up. He had taken the job with the Buccaneers after leaving Florida, and needed some help down there. So I would go down there Thursday afternoon and drive to Tampa and hang out, and actually sleep on an air mattress in the locker room. And Thursday, Friday practice. Saturday we'd either load up the truck and drive to where we were going, and or get on the plane and fly, or move over to Raymond James from One Buck Place. But it was a very interesting year. It was great. Made a lot of good friends over there. Ernest Graham was on the team, and a lot of the Florida guys were on the team there. Sapp from Miami, and a couple of other guys there. Keyshawn was very good to me. Warren was good. A lot of the players there took very good care of me, and we ended up going out to San Diego for the Super Bowl and ended up beating the Oakland Raiders for the Super Bowl. So Tim was very good to me. Tim and I have remained very good friends now for probably 45, 50 years now. I've known him since I was a 11, 12-year-old, and he worked for my father at the university, administering and helping with testing. So we go way back, and the relationships tie together pretty good. So he's always kept me around, and I love working with the equipment. The helmets and the shoulder pads to me are fascinating, and I've always been able to help develop a lot of different things, and worked with a lot of different companies, including Riddell and Nike, on a lot of their projects, because back in the 70s, you're a young man, so you would not know anything about a suspension helmet, but a lot of the players that wore...
I got one sitting right there.
You got one? Did you actually have one on your head?
No, I didn't, but my dad has Ole Miss helmet right there.
Okay, well, there you go. Yes,
Yeah.
those suspension helmets, and I'm amazed that the players were able to play and still survive that. But to this day, I've got my collection behind me here, and it's always funny to see a younger guy come in and go, "What's that?" I go, "That's an old suspension helmet. That's what your father or grandfather played in." So, but I enjoyed working with Bike, and Dr. Cade had a helmet called the HydroFlow, which was manufactured by Gladiator or Medalist Industries out of Leesburg, Florida. And we put a lot of the players in that. Was a groundbreaking helmet back in the 70s, which was a fantastic helmet, just couldn't catch on. And it's a lot of the things Dr. K did with that helmet and the research staff are used today in a lot of the Riddell and Shutt helmets. So it's very interesting.
Pizza Bill, you also, as we mentioned earlier, you were in journalism school, but you love music, being a DJ. And if people want to check out Pizza Bill being a DJ these days, what is it, on Friday night? You have like Gator Happy Hour or something like that?
Yeah, I've had some things come up Fridays, but we do Friday night from 6 until midnight. I get on there. I had a company with Wayne Fields, another former Gator, called Music Express. Back when I left school in 76, 77, we started a mobile music company and became very popular. We did weddings, bar mitzvahs, high school proms. We did a lot of dances at GHS, Eastside, and Buchholz. We had a lot of things. We'd take the athletes and we'd do like an Olympics thing we called the Sportathon. One of my partners, Rodney Long, created all kinds of different events for the kids back in the late 70s, early 80s. And we had tremendous following of people, and we'd play in nightclubs. And we had 2 or 3. We had an after-hours club here in Gainesville. Did a myriad of stuff, Shane, throughout the days. Like I said, jack of all trades, master of none. But I fell in love with the music, fell in love with the kind of the dance scene, and have been into it. So I've got a Pizza Bill side, and then I've got the Wild Bill side that some people don't know about. So a little bit back and forth. So some of the players know me as Wild Bill, seeing me at the Rathskeller back in the days, and then the equipment side, football side, was Pizza Bill. So there's a lot of different versions of me, I guess you could say.
That's awesome. Tell us whatever story you want to tell us, whether it's about John Reeves, Carlos Alvarez, Coach Spurrier, Doug Dickey. Give us a good Gator story.
Well, I tell you, the Auburn story there was interesting, but my favorite story of all time has to be my freshman year in 1975. I forgot who we played as the varsity that Saturday, but on Sunday we jumped on a bus to Auburn, Alabama. And Jack Hall, who had come down with Coach Dickey, who had coached at the Citadel, had coached all over, was a player's coach. He was a very fine man. And the story goes a little something like this. We start off, and he's giving the pregame speech, and he's stressing the kicking game, and he's saying we don't want to get behind, and just all the stuff that usually a coach would say pregame. We come out, fumble the opening kickoff, and the gentleman who was running the ball back fumbled it out of the end zone, was able to get out to about the 2-yard line. And you hear Coach Hall scream, "Hell, son, Jesse Owens wouldn't have even tried to run that ball back." So John Brantley Sr.'s the quarterback. So and we're playing in front of a crowd of maybe 25 or 30 people. So you can hear everything echoing through I guess it wasn't Jordan Hare at the time, but whatever it was called back then. And you could hear Coach Hall screaming. And John took the first snap, and he started scrambling all over the place. So you hear Coach Hall scream, "Hell, son, throw the ball to me." So we're down 13-zip at the half. We finally get into the half, and Coach Hall doesn't lose his cool, very funny. And he says, "We're going to come out and we're going to do this, we're going to do that." Anyway, to make a long story short, we ended up winning the game 14-13. We came back and beat them. And on the way back on the bus, there were some other things that happened I can't tell you about because the statute of limitations probably is not over yet. But staying at the Heart of Auburn, I was in handcuffs. That's another story. I got arrested there for breaking in to the chicken wire behind the bar at the Heart of Auburn. And I'm not a drinker. And thank goodness the athletic trainer, Jim Mackey, was my roommate, and he was able to verify that I had been in the room all night. But I was in handcuffs in Auburn, Alabama as a freshman in 1975. And we're not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but there was another player who looked a lot like me at the time, and he and another player broke into the very unsecure bar at the Heart of Auburn and took a few libations Sunday night before the game. But we got back on the bus heading to Gainesville, and all of a sudden you hear the click of the cassette tape, and you hear Coach Hall's pregame speech and Coach Hall's halftime speech. And the line at halftime was, "Hell, if we don't get going, they're going to beat us 100-0." But I have this tape, and it's very funny. And to hear Coach Hall run through all his pregame, halftime, and postgame speeches all on one cassette, and to hear the playback, it just brings back such good memories and such good laughs. And the guys that were on that team there, that's their favorite thing was Coach Jack Hall and how he treated the players. He was very good. He was like the players coach. If you had a problem, you went to see Coach Hall, and he made it all right. He made it better, and he'd find a way to get things done. He was back in the 70s under Doug Dickey. He was the guy that was able to fix things. There were some great coaches. Jimmy Dunn. We had, Coach Jack Thompson. We had all kinds of guys that were there. Doug Knotts and Alan Trammell and Ken Hatfield, Don Bro. We had a great coaching staff. But Coach Hall was like your father, and he always looked out for the players, and he was kind of the guy you went to. But to hear that cassette tape go on, and if you had to be there to understand the story, but you asked Johnny about it. It was one of the greatest. We laughed all the way back to Gainesville, but we won the game 14-13.
That's good stuff. Pizza Bill, last thing for you. You've done a tremendous job in the last 5 to 10 years trying to gather up information on former players, try to keep up with them, let us know what they're up to. If any other players are watching this podcast and want to get their information so other former players know where they're located, their families, what have you, how do they contact you?
Well, you can hit me at bill@bisk, bisk.com. That's my email, or feinbergwilliam@gmail.com. But we're doing a pretty good job. Everybody seems to reach out. The word gets out, and everybody hits me up. I talk with 5 to 6 players a day, just to call in to check, make sure they're okay, make sure they have a roof over their head, make sure they're working. I talked with T. Riles earlier today and had lunch with Scott Brantley yesterday down in Ocala. I try to make the rounds. About 10 of us got together. I guess it's 2 weeks now in Orlando. John Williams had to move down from Atlanta, the kicker from Cross City. He had dialysis, and he's living in Orlando now. And Robert Atkins, he and I, and Mike Williams, and Jimmy DeBose, and Alvin Parrish came down from Atlanta, flew in for the week. And he was there, hadn't seen Alvin since he left school, Lamar Parrish's brother, who played defensive back for us in the 70s. And we do, I've done reunions between the 70s and 80s group and played the music at the 60s group. And At Crystal River, we get together down there with Coach Spurrier and his group every once in a while. And it's been such a rewarding situation. I've crossed now. This will be my 52nd season coming up, and I've probably seen close to 450, 460 games. And it's just been everything you could ask for. All the players are very, very respectful and courteous and just terrific people. The ones that have issues, we try and keep it on the down low and get them fixed up. And we just try to be there for them and help them any way we can, because they bled for the University of Florida. And it's very important to me as an alumni and as a letterman, excuse me, to be able to reach out and make sure they're okay.
Yep, you're doing good stuff. Maybe we'll give us a Coke advertisement now with Pizza Bill drinking Coke Zero.
Coke Zero. This is what keeps me going. I don't do drugs, don't do alcohol, but this is my beverage of choice, and I keep 3 to 5 cases in the freezer and the refrigerator at any one time. And shout out to my friends at Coke, John Browning, and the crew out there. Keep me lubricated with this. So it's good.
Good stuff, Pizza Bill. Hey, man, that's awesome. Stay safe, my man. You're doing a tremendous job with us, former players. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Shano, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel with me, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
It was great. That's Pizza Bill at Center State Bank. We put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida, and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. You're going to take our first time out of this Tuesday program. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gainesville Turnover Specialist. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Celebration Point Town Center. Center State Bank. Chris Doring Mortgage. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Tuesday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators come to celebrate, with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon this spring in 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. Really want to thank Pizza Bill for joining us. Pizza Bill could tell stories for days and days and days, and we'll actually have him back on here in the future. We're going to try to go to the Titan MR hotline here in just a second. We're joined by Buddy Martin. Buddy's having technical difficulties there in Ocala. Buddy, if you can hear me, look at your screen, and there will be a little button that says unmute your phone. And all you have to do is just hit that button, because you are connected to us, but you have to unmute it yourself. It's not your actual phone, it's on the screen. So in the meantime, while Buddy is trying to unmute his phone, we had some really good sports over the weekend. Obviously, the PGA Tour, the Tour Championship ended up yesterday, and Dustin Johnson is your winner. He's got to be the player of the year on the PGA Tour. It was phenomenal playing by him the last couple of weeks. He is a Hall of Fame golfer. And Mr. Producer, you think we can call Buddy and get him on somehow? Buddy, all you got to do is hit the unmute button. In the meantime, last night, college football continued. BYU went into the Naval Academy and just demolished the midshipmen. The coach from Navy took it upon himself, took blame that his team was not prepared because they had not done any tackling, which I get that. I totally understand that's the route they went. But whether they tackled or not, they are not very good. BYU was the much better football team, better athletes across the board. So also the NBA playoffs, the Clippers take a 2-1 lead last night over the Denver Nuggets, and the Celtics manhandle the Raptors, take a 3-2 lead in that series. Tonight, the Miami Heat have a chance to wrap up the series against the 1 seed, the Milwaukee Bucks. And then the Lakers and the Rockets are both tied at 1-1. Get started. I think the Lightning won last night, if I'm not mistaken. The Lightning and the Stars take 1-0 leads, and we are still trying to get Buddy. Buddy's got some serious technical difficulties there in Ocala. And it's a beautiful day here in north central Florida, so it's not a weather. Brent says right here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most, Navy gets blown out of the water. No pun intended. Yeah, Navy just – they were breaking in a new quarterback. They'd had a 3-year starter that is now playing – I think he made the Dolphins roster as a wide receiver. Really good football player. But, man, Navy's just a bad football team. They may get better. Unfortunately, BYU had a schedule that was set up. They're an independent now. They're not in a conference, but they had a really good schedule before the pandemic hit. And now they don't really – the only toughest game they play, I think, is the University of Houston. So we're trying to get Buddy on the line here. In the meantime, Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. NFL starts on Thursday night. You got the Chiefs and the Texans. You also have the Miami Hurricanes kick it off Thursday night as well. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, folks. We're going to have a really good show for you. You got old James Bates. He's a character. There's no question about it. We got Batesy and JC. And then Thursday, we're going to have a special high school edition with Mike Rideout from theprepzone.com. And we'll have a couple of high school coaches, Marcus McDonald from PK Young, Bill Wiles from Trenton, and not Trent Whittemore. He's playing wide receiver for the Gators, but his daddy, Mark Whittemore, will join us and talk about their seasons. Trenton and PK Young played the other night, Trenton winning in overtime. I believe we found Buddy. Buddy, good morning, Buddy. How are you?
Hey. Well, I'm in technology hell at the moment, but other than that, I'm doing good. This is what happens when your alarm system goes off and everything goes down with it when it comes crashing. So anyway, we're here. Glad to be here today, and thank you for your patience. Sorry about the tech stuff.
Oh, trust me, it's all good. So, Buddy, I was briefly talking about, before we get into football, Dustin Johnson's got to be your player of the year. Had a phenomenal run here towards the end. Just unbelievable golf played by him.
Yeah, it's funny you said a year because we still got an Open to be played, a Masters to be played, a British Open to be played, but you're right. And who else would you pick? In fact, I have a larger question for you, and that is about after that phenomenon. I watched it, by the way. I must have watched, I don't know, 12, 15 hours of golf over the past few days. And it was kind of a boring tournament from the standpoint of competition, except for maybe that final 3 holes on Sunday when Dustin Jard won there and knocked it in the hole and won by 3. But the question now becomes, how great is Dustin Johnson? Now, he's not in Tiger's territory. It isn't going to be because there's never been another Tiger. But certainly he put on a display of golf. And I started thinking, what's so great about this guy? Why is he so great? And I don't use that word. I never use that word great. There's a resolve for a very few special people and athletes. He's one of the coolest dudes. In fact, he's almost too cool because he chills a little too much. He actually did a fist bump after winning $15 million. That's a big thing for him. And so this guy's got a game. As Bobby Jones once said, by the way, of Jack Nicklaus. He plays the game which I'm not familiar. Mm-hmm. And I'm certain that Dustin Johnson is getting into that stratosphere. What if he keeps us going? What if he wins the U.S. Open? Where are we going to put him? How many wins is this for him, Shane, on tour?
28 or something like that, I believe.
Something like that. I wanted to say something.
He's a phenomenal player, and he's a Hall of Fame golfer. There's no question about it. I love his demeanor. Here's the thing, buddy. You bring up Tiger, and Tiger's arguably the best there ever was. How many tour wins does Tiger have?
Oh, I'm not a good stats guy, but probably over 100, I would think. Didn't Sam Snead have the 88, and he beat that? So I don't know where he is right now.
Well, it's going to be interesting because, I was talking to a friend of mine who doesn't know a whole lot about golf, and they wanted to know why Tiger wasn't in this tournament. I'm like, well, Tiger's not good enough to play in this tournament. He's the top 40 players in the country, in the world. And, I mean, the young guns that are out there, you talk about playing a game that people aren't familiar with, it is ridiculous. The game that Dustin Johnson, Xander Schauffele, Justin Thomas, John Rahm, all these guys, the game has changed. And
it has.
And Dustin's at 35. He's considered old now because, I mean, you got the Scotty Schefflers of the world, the Cameron Champs that are 21 and 22 years old that are they're in the hunt week in and week out. So I love the way these young guys are playing. And as you mentioned, we got the U.S. Open and the Masters coming up. But what's interesting, buddy, is technically the season is over because the Tour Championship is the final event of the year. But do you know they start the next year's season next weekend? They have an event out in California that starts next year's golf season. So it's a unique situation, but it was fun to watch. So, buddy, did you watch any college football over the weekend? Buddy, you there? Did we lose Buddy?
I'm here, Shane. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Did you watch any college football over the weekend?
I did. I must admit I lost interest early. But I want to say a word about this if I can, because I think it's significant. We just had a football game. We had a football game in a season when people were doubting whether there would be football. Just the fact that they played, never mind what was the final, 53-3 or something like that. Just the fact that they played is a triumph. And I've been going over some of my old stuff recent days. I ran across a podcast I did on Five Bomb in April. We talked about would there even be a season. And the bravery which these young men have displayed, and you've got a son playing the game, is nothing to be forgotten, because what they did, they played a football game against all odds. And the fact that they got a game in gives us hope. And I'm so happy for these young people, these coaches who have invested so much. And I think they've been very courageous.
No, I agree. I watched a ton of football this weekend. I watched Memphis play Arkansas State. They had, a handful of folks in the stands. I watched Marshall, who was very impressive with their young quarterback. Buddy, their stadium holds about 30,000. They had almost half the capacity, and it was awesome. Last night was weird because there were nobody in the stands.
Yeah.
And, Navy looked terrible. Let's be honest. And their coach,
they did.
Their coach said that they hadn't tackled and this, that, and the other, which they hadn't. Yeah. But regardless if they had been practicing and tackling, it wouldn't have mattered. BYU is that much better, in my opinion, than Navy. What was interesting, too, South Alabama and Southern Miss played this weekend, and Southern Miss loses to South Alabama. You know what happened to their coach, Jay Hobson? They fired him. He's already been fired.
I saw that. Now, what's that all about? I don't know what the deal on that.
I don't know either. Jay, I know Jay. He was a graduate assistant here back in the day under Spurrier. I think when Bob Pruitt or someone like that was the defensive coordinator. He played football at Ole Miss. He was a longtime coach at Grambling. Southern Miss hired him. Been so-so, but it's just bizarre to me how with everything going on, and it's not like Southern Miss has a ton of money. It's not like they have people knocking down the door to go coach there. How do you fire a coach? Now, it says that he resigned, but why the hell would you resign after one game?
Right.
So
something not right there. Something weird about that. I don't know what that is, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
That's ridiculous. How about South Alabama? Gators may have dodged a bullet.
Well, it's South Alabama only won 2 games last year. They already got the belt. But, buddy, the big boys start playing this weekend. You got the ACC and 12. Miami kicks off Thursday night as well as the NFL. I'm sure you'll be tuning in for that, right?
Yeah, let me correct you. It's not the big boys. It's the medium boys, okay? The big boys don't start for a couple more weeks. And once again, let me just say kudos to the brilliance of Greg Sankey. The fact that there was a game played and we're still talking about football, and you have to, more than I do, but the way things are going extremely well up there with their health situation and the way they're handling it. And I've watched a couple of these videos that they've done on YouTube. Were really good. Vernell Brown did one and did one inside look at the Gators and showed us some of the coaching rooms and stuff. It was really impressive to watch. This is a very together football club, okay? They are very together, and I'm very excited. I'm beginning to get a little too optimistic about these Gators. I think they got a really good chance of being not just good, but terrific. Can you imagine what could happen to this part of the football team this year? My goodness. And by the way, everybody's jumping on the bandwagon now. They're all starting to pick Florida in the East. Shane, back when we were saying it in the spring, nobody was buying it, but now they're all jumping on real quick. So good stuff. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about watching the Gators play. By the way, can I just say I'm loving the Tampa Bay Rays right now.
Yeah, well, a lot of people picked Tampa Bay before the season started because of their rotation and things of that nature.
Yeah,
picked them in a short season, and they may have a chance, buddy.
Yeah, I'm watching them regularly. You know why? I'm watching them as a fan. Most of the time, I watch it because of my business. I watch football. I love it, and I've gotten away from baseball. I haven't been down to a Rays game since 2 years ago with my grandson. But and they're hard to love sometimes. Kenny Cash is amazing, and what they've done with these rookies and these kids, this pitching staff, they are fun to watch. And how much is their payroll? Probably 2 Yankees. Could fill up their payroll, and they're just playing great baseball. Fun to watch. If you haven't watched them, they only got a few games left. They're going to be in the postseason. Tune in when you get a minute. I mean, when there's not a football game, because football is my first love. Speaking of football, may I just say, Cala Quarterback Club is back. They've got a terrific schedule of speakers. They're starting, I believe, in 2 weeks. And by the way, they got some great speakers. Cassidy Hill of GatorBait leads them off on the first meeting here in a couple of weeks. They got some guy named Shane Matthews in here. I don't know. Somewhere down the line. I don't know.
I'm speaking this year, buddy.
I don't know. Are you? I thought you were. Maybe you're not. I'm not sure.
But they haven't sent me the memo. Maybe they didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe Mike McGinnis didn't get to that part yet. But anyway, he's got, Dildy speaks there, David Land. They don't feel bad. I don't get to speak either. I'm on the board. They don't invite me to speak. So, but last night Mike was on, and Mike McGinnis is he's a former replay official in the SEC. He's done a fantastic job there. If I could just give a number out for people who might want to join the quarterback club, I know it says right here, Pat Dooley, Lee McGriff, and Shane Matthews. So I don't know. Maybe you better talk to Mike. You're on the schedule. So
all right. Well, you know how to get a hold of me, buddy. Just let me know what.
Yeah. Well, it's not. I'm not in charge. They won't let me do it. Mike is the one who has to do that. But anyway, let me just give this number. Is it okay to give this number out? This is if you want to join there. By the way, they got tremendous renewals in a time when people aren't going to things like this. They've already got over half re-signed for this year. Dues are $300, 10 meetings a year at the Elks Lodge. The HPC was there a couple of years ago. And new members are coming in. If you want to join, take it down. 352-816-6313. 352-816-6313. Come you come as my guest if you want to. We'll listen to Shane speak when he speaks, and we'll do that. So anyway, I know you're running out of time. Can I just pimp something else real fast?
Yes. Let us know about your podcast with Urban.
Yes. Well, I am Terry Bradshaw. So right now, Terry Bradshaw is taking to be a part of it. It's called the Best Fridays in Football. It's going. We got it with a new podcast partner up in the Midwest, Evergreen, and they'll be podcasting our show. And then Friday is the best Fridays in football with Urban Meyer's podcast and Terry Bradshaw doing the NFL. Is that pretty good? Big Bradshaw is be an NFL guy, and I'm pretty pumped up about these Bucks too. By the way, I'm an all Tampa guy this week. These Bucks are going to be fun to watch, and they're going to be in contention, Shane.
They should be. They got a really good team lined up. Brady's surrounded by a lot of talent. Buddy, we're run out of time, my man. Get that internet fixed down there. We'll talk to you tonight on your show.
Tonight on the Buddy Martin Show, 9 o'clock, Shane Matthews. Thank you, Shane.
All right, buddy. That's Buddy Martin. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Going to take our second time out of the program. We come back, we'll wrap this thing up. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gainesville Turnover Specialist. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Celebration Point Town Center. Center State Bank. Chris Doran Mortgage. Our touchdown sponsors are Pomodoro Cafe, Big Wheels Cheesesteaks, Cornerstone Financial,
I'll have my wife
McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters,
Boy, it's frustrating that happens. I do it
Gainesville
every
Neon
night.
Signs,
I know what it's like. So.
84 Lumber,
Anyway, thanks a lot.
Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to Auto with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. This Day in Sports is brought to you by GTS, Gainesville's premier maintenance company. Whether you need carpet cleaning or expert painting, fences mended, or any handyman services, call GTS 352-363-6622. This Day in Sports in 1990, U.S. Open Women's Tennis. Gabriela Sabatini becomes the only Argentine woman to win a Grand Slam singles event. She beats Steffi Graf. That's brought to you by Gainesville's premier maintenance company, GTS. Folks, we really want to thank Pizza Bill Feinberg for joining us, tell us some great stories. We will have him back, no doubt about it. And old Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. Make sure you tune in to him tonight on Facebook Live around 9 o'clock. Does a tremendous job Monday through Friday on that show. Tomorrow, don't forget, we got James Bates. Who knows what will be in store with Batesy on the show and JC as well. The rest of the week, our lineup is we got a high school segment for you on Thursday. And on Friday, Reggie McGrew, former Gator, now on the strength staff, will be talking to us on the program. Make sure you follow and like us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from WrapSpot. September is your lucky month at WrapSpot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Folks, I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, the rest of the week. As I said, make sure you go follow us and like us. We want to thank all our new sponsors that have jumped on board. We're rocking and rolling and out of spots for advertising, believe it or not. So you have to be put on a waiting list, but that's a good thing to do. I'm looking here. It's all good. So anyway, today's show is going to be a wrap brought to you by WrapSpot. Be safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.